All right, we are live. Welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dan Dix here, Press for Truth. Today we're going to be taking questions from the Patreon members and also questions from anyone on Steemit.com who's following me there. And we'll do our best to get through all the questions on the chat and, of course, the super chat as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly tweet out this link and also share it on Facebook. And if you guys could do the same. Send this one out. Let people know we are currently live right now. I'm just going to quickly post this. Posted to Facebook. And let me copy the stream and put it on Steemit really quickly. Just bear with me, guys. If you're not familiar with Steemit, it's steemit.com, Steemit.com. Fantastic website. We can talk about that today if you want. Now let me just head back to the stream and make sure we're actually going. All right, we have some viewers tuning in so far. It looks like everything is good. What up, Jeff Berwick? My good friend Jeff Berwick, my good friend Josh Sigurdsson are both online already. And we have Sorchinda Penn, I believe the name is. Someone from London, Ontario. How's it going, everybody? Glad to have you here. Again, if you're just tuning in, please send out this link right now, either over Twitter, Facebook, whatever you got to do to get the word out. Let people know that we're broadcasting live right now. We're going to be taking questions for the next hour or so. We'll see how this goes. And I'm going to be paying close attention to the chat window as best as I can. And we'll be taking questions, as I said, on Steemit.com. I'll be refreshing this page every now and then and seeing if we have any questions coming in there. And also, I'll monitor this chat window as best as I can. Now, we're going to be starting to potentially make this a weekly thing. I was starting to, mention this last week when I did a live broadcast. And I said, I think I'll do this at the end of every week. And we can kind of discuss some of the things that have been covered on PFT over the course of the last week. So if you guys have any questions in regards to any of the videos we did, let me just give you a quick breakdown of some of the videos we did since last week's live broadcast. And I still working on this, doing this live streaming thing from home. So bear with me. I still got to figure out how to switch around the camera and get it onto my desktop, get other cameras going. But we did a video on traveling to the United States, talking about the new enhanced security features going on at the airports. We talked about how to spot a government troll. If anybody is doing anything close to what I'm doing, certainly you've had to deal with this yourself. We also talked about the Vancouver police who are now using prediction technology to essentially arrest people on pre-crimes. It's like thought crimes. It's straight out of Minority Report. We interviewed James Corbett. I did a great interview. He provided such good information on the concept of cyber warfare and cyber terrorism, essentially. And we talked about the coming Cyber 9/11 that may be potentially blamed on Russia and used to bring in Internet 2.0 and potentially, kill off some cryptocurrencies, do a whole lot of things that they may be planning right now as their next order out of chaos operation. And then yesterday, or a couple days ago, I did a video on the eugenics program because there's a new study that just came out talking about how fertility in men in the West, anyways, has been down 60% in just the last 40 years. And I talk in that video all about how this is all part of a eugenics program. This is all being done by design. So if you have any questions about any of those topics, let me know and we'll get into them in depth. Or if you have any questions about anything really in general, we'll get into it. As I said, if you are a Patreon member at patreon.com/pressfortruth, you're guaranteed to have your questions answered. People have been putting in their questions every week. I put out a message to my patrons every week. They reply in the thread with some questions. So let's get to a couple of the Patreon questions that are, I've promised to read on the air and to answer the questions. And then, as I said, we'll jump back and forth between the Steemit chat and the YouTube chat. And of course, if there's any super chats coming in, we'd greatly appreciate your donation and contribution. And I'll be keeping an eye on the super chats as well, obviously, for any of your questions or comments that come in there. All right, so starting us off today, we have a question from Nicholas Peter. And he says, would you be interested in contacting John Collar of the, I think that's how you pronounce it, of the YouTube channel Growing Your Greens, and talk with him about organic biological gardening, open source decentralization, and becoming less dependent on the powers that shouldn't be. John is extremely genuine and passionate, and he just wants to spread knowledge and empower people. And also, if you would be interested in interviewing a gentleman named Josh Cunnings, owner of a California-based operation called Boogie Brew. He sells organic gardening products, and his business model is that of open source and is pro-decentralization. He's not out to make any fiat currency, but to help spreading the gardening message and empowering people to make a difference. So thank you so much for that, Nicholas. Fantastic question. Yes, I would absolutely be interested in interviewing those gentlemen. I'm not familiar with their work or have not seen their videos, but I will check it out, and I would love to have someone like that on to talk about that, because to me that's one of the things that's of the utmost importance. In fact, if you go to my YouTube channel, Nicholas, and you use the search feature and you just type in maybe a word like food, or GMO, or Monsanto, or anything along these lines, like gardening, home growing, you'll find I've done a lot of videos on this. And in fact, I did interview Mike Adams, the health ranger, about these gardening techniques. The video was called, let me see if I can pull it up. I set it aside. How to be Empowered by Food Freedom with Mike Adams. So check that one out. Also, let's just do a quick search here for the word food on my YouTube channel. And we see urgent Monsanto versus organic farmers, Bayer versus Monsanto, GMO food and the youth who are fighting it. I've got raw milk farmers fight back, ditch the junk, go organic, march against Monsanto, an interview with Rachel Parent, debunking GMO debunking. That was a fun one to make. Anyways, it goes on and on. Check it out. I've done interviews like that before, but these guys sound interesting, so I will certainly check that out and potentially set up an interview with these guys. Again, I'm just learning of this now from you, so I'll check them out and we'll see if we can set up an interview. I'm going to quickly check in here on the live stream, see how this is going. Wow, there's a lot of comments coming in, we'll see if we can get to any questions. There's so many here, guys. I'm just scanning through looking for question marks, and then I'll just read them. Some people were upset with me last week saying, how come you just skipped over my stuff? There's a lot of stuff here. I'll get to everything I possibly can. So I'm just going to scan through and try to look for question marks. Here's one from RC Leroy Brown. Are there train cars in Canada with shackles to transport prisoners? I don't know. That's a good question, but judging by the fact that Canadians are, to a large extent, far more worse off than even our brothers to the south in a lot of various ways, and I would not be surprised if there was such a thing. Okay, we'll get back to the YouTube chat, because as I promised, I want to get to everybody who got in on Patreon. And let me quickly refresh the Steemit blog to see if we have anybody coming in here. All right, we have somebody commenting already, but no questions. So let's move on to the next Patreon members only question. We have one here from John Manley. John Manley says, my 10-year-old son, jonahworld.net, wants to know why you moved from Toronto to Vancouver. All right, good question. My move from Toronto to Vancouver was strictly business, purely a business move. My business partner had a line on a building at the time here in Vancouver, and by that I mean it was ridiculously good price rent-wise, because the deal was it was known that the building was going to be demolished in a couple of years. They didn't know. They said maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe longer, but it's going to be demolished soon. So that allowed us the ability to do whatever we wanted in there. Tear down walls, cut holes in the walls, and put in a studio window. So essentially the move was all about coming down here because it was a deal that we couldn't pass up in terms of the price on a building to set up a studio space for PFT, with the express aim of upping my production value and eventually getting to the point of being, you know, similar to something like an InfoWars, for example, you know, producing daily video content from the studio all the time. It didn't exactly pan out after that, especially after the studio was torn down. So I'm obviously here now doing live broadcasts from my from my deck. But that was the purpose of coming here, and I still have a lot of high hopes for making things happen here in Vancouver. I love Vancouver. I don't miss Toronto a whole lot. I thought I would. I love Toronto as well. But when I think about it, it's like there's not really a whole lot I miss about it. You know, Vancouver is a beautiful, beautiful place, and I'm glad to be here right now. So I hope that answered your question. Let's see what else we have going on here in the YouTube chat. LG, how is the cannabis in Canada? Well, LG, as a matter of fact, you just reminded me that I need to give a shout out right now to one of my sponsors at Liberty Farms. And they run Grassroots Medicinal and grassrootsmedicinal.ca. And if you've ever heard the term BC Bud, then that should give you an indication of how good cannabis is here in Canada. I think Canadians are leading the way. Not even Canadians, people in BC, British Columbia specifically, are leading the way as far as some of the most potent and you know, fragrant, just special kinds of buds that you get anywhere in the world. It's known all around the world that BC Bud is some of the best product you can get. So check out our sponsors, Liberty Farms. These guys do amazing work, and they have a shop here in Squamish, British Columbia, called Grassroots Medicinal, and the website's grassrootsmedicinal.ca. And you know, right now the government is trying to get their ducks in a line, essentially, for the eventual legalization of cannabis in Canada, which is coming down the line. We can talk about this all day, but there's reasons why it's being pushed off, constantly being pushed back. It's because they need to wipe out the mom and pops, so to speak, and give these licenses, the LPs, the licensed producers, the licenses to these insiders. They're all of their buddies are going to be the guys getting the license so that they can set up Marijuana Inc. I talked about this in great length in my film. I call it a film. It's only 10 minutes long, but it plays like a documentary, the Trudeau deception. So LG, just go to my YouTube channel and look up the Trudeau deception, and you'll see what's in store for Canadians when it comes to legalization of cannabis. And then in the description there, you can find links to our sponsors at Liberty Farms and Grassroots Medicinal. We also have a fantastic sponsor at oneworlddigitalsolutions.com. This is where they sell digital Android boxes, so you can not have to give a whole ton of money to cable companies and satellite companies and stuff like that. You can tune into any internet channel, any satellite channel, any TV channel, anywhere in the world, you know, whatever they're watching on something in Australia or Japan, or, you know, if you're into the sporting events like the hockey or the UFCs or boxing, whatever, you can get all these things for free when you get one of these boxes, and it's at oneworlddigitalsolutions.com, and if you use promo code PFT, you'll get $50 US off the price of one of the boxes. So it's a great deal, and he's a great sponsor. I like to work with people at Press for Truth who I want to support. You know, at first when I heard the name One World Digital Solutions, come on, bro, what's up with that word? But I interviewed him on it. This is a friend of mine, Chris, and he broke it down. You know, bottom line is, digitally speaking, this is one world. You can tap into digital content on the other side of the planet within seconds. That's just the reality. But regardless, it's a fantastic feature and product that he has. So sorry, just wanted to get out a quick plug there. OneWorldDigitalSolutions.com. If you're in the market for one of those Android boxes, support them, because that helps to support us. Because as you know, the YouTube adpocalypse is coming down hard on PFT. These live broadcasts can't be monetized, you may have noticed. My videos get monetized days after they've been uploaded, so they never get any of the revenues that they used to. But thankfully, thanks to Patreon.com and Steemit.com, I've been able to supplement that income, and it's all thanks to the patrons and Steemit.com. I've been doing pretty well with the cryptocurrency Steem. If you're not familiar with that, go ahead and ask some questions in the chat if you want to know about that. I've made, oh man, $3,000 or $4,000 in the last month, Canadian. Let's, if I were to sell it today, in Steem dollars, it's really been better than anything YouTube's been providing me. That, coupled with the Patreon, has been able to keep me going. Speaking of Patreon, I'm sure we have more questions. Okay. As I said, if you're just tuning in, we are reading and answering questions from patron members. If you're a patron member at Press for Truth, you'll have your question read and answered on the air, guaranteed. So our next one today comes from Carter. It says, can you discuss Kathleen Wynne and how she's running Ontario? Yes. It's bad. Kathleen Wynne is absolutely the worst thing that could have ever happened to Ontario. For those of you who don't know, if you're viewing this broadcast from outside of Canada, this is the vile creature who has taken over control of Ontario, and essentially, my guess is she's an SJW who infiltrated politics. That's what it seems like to me with her. It really feels like, these social justice warriors have gotten more sophisticated and they've managed to infiltrate, because that's what she is. Some of the bad things that stand out for me when I see that name, you ask me what I think Kathleen Wynne is, like, okay, well, there's the $15 minimum wage. That is something that is being pushed in Ontario that is absolutely going to be terrible for Canadians. I did a video on that not too long ago. Gosh, I don't remember what it's called, but just use the search feature in my YouTube channel, and you'll likely find it under minimum wage or something like that. But that is going to be absolutely detrimental to Canadians if that gets carried through all across the board. And various reasons for so. I mean, employers are going to end up, reducing the number of their staff. Robots are going to eventually take over. That's already happening. Not to mention that she's also got this basic income concept that she's trying to introduce. Total commie ideas in her ideology, trying to suggest that, some sort of basic income should be supplied to everybody, at the cost of everyone else. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense, and it's beyond making no sense. It's dangerous. So I don't like Kathleen Wynne whatsoever. I mean, I think she is ruining Ontario, and could be, supplying the blueprint for the rest of Canada to go down this socialist path. That's why Justin Trudeau, our feminist SJW, loves her so much. She's a mentally ill individual who managed to become the leader of the largest province in Canada. And her SJW ideologies are seeping their way in, and it's absolutely brutal. Okay, let me check out some more of these questions coming through on the chat real quick. Didn't Reagan try to do the same thing? I'm not sure. Do you know anything about the LNC Lavalin case? No, I do not. If you want to post any information in the chat, maybe I can touch on that. I'll try to keep an eye on it today. What are your thoughts on Ken O'Keefe issue? I don't know what. I'm not sure what issue you're referring to. I recall there was some people saying something about embezzlement or taking donations or funds. I really don't know. I don't know enough to speak to it on it. If that's what you're alluding to, I'm not sure. He seems like a pretty decent guy to me, kind of. He kind of stood me up actually for an interview in Acapulco. We set up an interview, you know, for I think it was the following morning or something like that. It was like 9 a.m. at the bar kind of thing. So I'm up. I go down there. I've got all my cameras and my stuff. And yeah, he was just a no-show. So that kind of sucked. But I mean, I'm not gonna hold it against the guy. And who knows what happened? Anything could have happened. As far as I know, he seems like a pretty decent guy. Seems like a good guy. He's trying to fight for the good fight. But maybe I'm missing something. Maybe you can fill me in. I heard something about embezzling money. Or something to that effect of donation money going into some sort of the wrong hands. All right, we have one more coming in. Legend TV says, Bill M103. What are your thoughts? All right. Well, M103 is absolutely terrible. I hate Motion 103. I've done a lot of videos on it. I think I did one called M03 must be rejected or something like that. Check it out. Use the search feature on my YouTube channel. Type in M103 and you'll find it. I have a big problem with this concept of xenophobia or Islamophobia. You know, even the term itself is nonsensical. It's really, it doesn't make sense because a phobia implies that you have an irrational fear of something. But this is people who are concerned with, you know, something that's not compatible with Western Christian values, and there's nothing irrational about that. So Islamophobia, this term that's being pushed by the motion, is ridiculous. So yeah, I don't like it. I was talking the other day with just through emails trying to set up an interview with somebody who allegedly was the first man ever arrested under M103 for hate speech crimes against Muslims, apparently. But you know, it's not possible that he could be charged under M103. It's still just a binding motion. It's not even a bill yet. I asked him for an interview, and he said he would give me a phone call with whatever information he had and already said in his YouTube channel. And I said, okay, well, would you be willing to maybe do that on video Skype instead of phone call? And he didn't respond to me. So you know, I do think we are going to see it, though, come into effect soon. I mean, it is probably going to become a bill. As far as I recall, I think it's already reached its second or maybe even third reading in the Senate, possibly on its way to royal assent and going to become a bill. So yeah, I'm absolutely concerned about that. It's a huge problem. Again, I've done a few videos on that. Check it out in the you know, YouTube search features, and yeah, you'll see all my thoughts on that. Okay, it's a lot of questions coming in. Let's see what else we got. What do you think about Omar's million terrorist payout? Okay, so good question. RC Leroy Brown. All right, I did a video on that the day that it was announced, talking about the fact that Omar Khadr was indeed a child at the time. And I mentioned in the video that I am not in favor of the $10 million being given out. In fact, I suppose I said it in more of a way of saying, you know, it serves you right for paying into the military-industrial complex. You know, this is what your tax dollars go to, things like that. They don't go to what you want it to go to. They go to everything you do not want it to go to. And I don't agree with that whatsoever. But having said that, there's a lot of facts about this case that people are completely unaware of, and I wish I brought up in that video, but again, I just popped it off quickly as the news was announced. But the fact of the matter is, you know, this kid had a gun held to his head when he threw that grenade. He was forced. He was told, you throw it or you die. A gun was held to his head, and he threw it over a wall. And you know, in fact, let me try to quickly find something, because they did a pretty good job on this, since you asked. So this is something, just bear with me for a sec. This is from the Star. I'm not a huge fan of the Star, but every now and then you get something interesting coming from them. It says the Supreme Court unanimously stated in 2008 that by making the product of its post-torture interviews of Mr. Cotter available to the U.S. authorities, Canada participated in a process that was contrary to Canada's international human rights obligations. In 2010, it wrote that the interrogation of a youth detained without access to counsel to elicit statements about serious criminal charges, while knowing that the youth had been subjected to sleep deprivation, and while knowing that the fruits of the interrogations would be shared with prosecutors, offends the most basic Canadian standards. Goes on to say, Canada's complicity in the torture and unjust military trial of Cotter was indisputably and seriously illegal. Canadian courts only apply the Charter of Rights and Freedoms to state actions outside of the country if they violate Canada's binding obligations under international law. Considering that 74% of Canadians acknowledge that Cotter was a child soldier and he should have been treated as one. It goes on. If you want, maybe after this broadcast, I'll try to remember to put a link in the description to that. But yeah, I think this kid was victimized. His father was a terrorist. He was 15 years old, forced to go over there, forced to do battle, taken from there and put in Guantanamo Bay, tortured, you know, for years and years. Went through sleep deprivation, forced to give a confession, and it's just terrible. So I think it's awful what happened to him. 15 years old. Bottom line is, international rules, Canadian rules here, the guy was a kid, and he deserved to be treated as one, but he was not. And that's just the bottom line. I don't think he should have been given $10 million of Canadian taxpayer money. 10.5. But again, all the more reason to remember that taxation is indeed theft, and they are going to do what they want to do with it. Let me try to get in a few more of these YouTube questions, and then we'll check the Steemit, and then we'll get back to Patreon. Again, if you're just tuning in, I should open up one more tab, and we'll constantly refresh this to see if we get any new patrons coming in with any questions. If you happen to sign up to become a patron member right now, links are in the description right below. Then you can get in your question right now. Guaranteed to have it read and answered on the air. All right, so I'm going to quickly check this. Okay, Francis Santoli. Bitcoin breaking 3,000 in 48 hours. Yeah, that's possible. Maybe it already has. I'm not sure. I know it has been on a huge comeback today after taking a bit of a dip in the last 3 or 4 days. I know there's a lot of nervousness about this hard fork situation coming up in, 2-3 days from now, August 1st. The proposed hard fork of essentially splitting the blockchain into into two, essentially. It's like a Bitcoin 2.0 almost. I think that would be very bad for the community, and I think a lot of people got nervous and were taking their Bitcoins, out, trading it for fiat. But I don't know what changed in the last day, because yes, you are right. It is up. It is up a lot today. I think, in fact, I'm going to sell some today as soon as I'm done this. Trade in some of my Steemit dollars and sell some Bitcoin today. Speaking of which, let me head on over to Steemit. Steemit.com, Steemit.com. If you're not there, guys, check it out. My account there is called Press for Truth. And when you post there, even if you comment or like my stuff, you'll earn money. You earn a cryptocurrency called Steem. Or Steem dollars. And you can trade those on the market. It's absolutely fantastic. Okay, we got a lot of comments in Steemit. I'm not seeing any questions. What is Press for Truth stand for? I think you mean, what does Press for Truth stand for? But that's a great question. Let me get back to this. Press for Truth. That is something that I came up with in 2006 when I decided to go completely on my own and just become independent and do things the way I wanted to do it. It had a good ring to it to me, and it has double, if not triple, meaning for me. Because the press, it means press like press on, but it also means press like like the media, obviously, pressing on for that truth. Of course, I do talk about truth with a capital T, because that's the other meaning that a lot of people don't know, which is some of my Christian views coming into the reason for that specific naming of Press for Truth, because the word truth is actually a double meaning, because Jesus said, "I'm the truth, the way, and the life." And I thought that was an amazingly bold and profound, incredible statement to say, "I am the truth." It's like, wow, that's amazing. And according to my research, I tend to believe them. So that's why I came up with that name. Essentially, it's got that triple meaning for me. Okay. What else do we have in the chat? And if you guys want to follow up on any of this stuff, just try to get your questions in, and I'll try to find them all. How do you feel about Venezuela? The rioters are not gangs or thugs. They're people. What's happening in Venezuela right now is unbelievably bad, but almost predictable, because, over my years of research, I've slowly, I'm sure as people who've been following me for a while, eventually kind of my ideologies has moved closer to the anarchist philosophy, the anarchist way of thinking, because it makes much more sense, and you can see it in these communist and socialist experiments, almost. They always descend into people like eating each other. I mean, it's just absolutely brutal. I don't know if you guys seen the clip recently of it was like something out of Mad Max, where they're pulling over a sugar truck so they could get their calories and stuff like that. Unbelievable what's happening there. That's why anarcho-capitalism is where it's at for me, and why I think people need to look into that a lot more. It may sound scary at first. It certainly did to me back in 2008, 2009, when I first started hearing about it. When G20 came around, I was documenting the Black Bloc, and everybody's calling these people anarchists. And that's what happens in society. People start to get this idea that that's what anarchism is, when it really is not. Most anarchists I know are millionaires, they're businessmen, they're smart individuals who follow what's called the non-aggression principle. It's similar to what Jesus taught, the golden rule: do unto others as you would have done unto you. That's what anarchism is to me, and that led me to wanting to call myself a voluntarist, where I feel that all of society, even government, should operate under voluntarism, where it's mutually accepted contracts between two parties. So that's why when I say taxation is theft, the reason why we say that is because it wasn't a mutual contract. I did not sign up for this. This is being enforced upon me. If I don't do it, men with guns will come to my house and take me and throw me in a cage. That's extortion. So that's the problems I see. Just to get back to your question with Venezuela, in a nutshell, it's socialism. That's the problem. So that's why my philosophies, after seeing stuff like that over and over, have led more towards the anarchist philosophy way of thinking. All right, let's get back to the patron members only questions. As we said, if you are a Patreon member at patreon.com/pressfortruth, we will read your questions and answer them live on the air every single week. Okay, we have one here from Michael Young. My question is, how do you feel about including your Christian values into your videos, seeing as the majority of topics covered do not have a direct linkage with Christianity? Do you see the path to Jesus Christ as being separate from the topics that you cover? Okay, thank you so much for the question, Michael. Do you see the path to Jesus as being separate? No, from the topics. No, not at all. It's not separate whatsoever. I find it's all very much so connected. To me, this is the big picture. And in regards to your question about, I suppose, imposing more of my beliefs and my spiritual ideas into my videos, I do sort of hear every now and then. I kind of talk about these things sometimes. In fact, I did put out an interview a long time ago. I think it was in 2008 on my YouTube channel. If you go watch that, I break down all my beliefs, right down from, I think I put it in the description. Give me 1 second. Let me pull it up real quick, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I want to point you to this particular video. Yes, so yeah, we put this out in 2009. Description says, this is an interview where I was asked about the following topics: the North American Union, the Bilderberg Group, the Illuminati, Freemasonry, the New World Order, the New Age movement, pyramids, the all-seeing eye, the Bible, and conditioning masses, as well as order out of chaos. And in that, I delve deep into my spiritual beliefs and, why I read the Bible and why I'm a Christian. But as far as your question about kind of bringing up this topic with my Press for Truth audience, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, because it is, what's the most important thing to me, but it has to be done right. And I've been talking to some friends of mine, and I'm actually starting to think about maybe going the documentary route and not necessarily doing, talking about these sorts of things on my, it will be on my YouTube channel, but not in, little 5-minute vlogs or 10-minute videos, but rather a full-length feature, hour or 2-hour-long documentary film. Maybe on the life of Jesus, on the New Age movement, on how it all ties into the current New World Order, these concepts of biblical prophecy, end time concepts. This is the kind of thing I'd rather put into a documentary type thing rather than put it out on small YouTube videos. But that's what I've been thinking, anyways. Michael, that's what I got in mind for that. So thank you very much for the question. Sometimes I do find that some portion of my audience, when they hear that I'm a Christian, they say, sorry, I'm trying to get the sun out of the lens. They when they find out I'm a Christian, they say, what? I didn't know that. I've been watching you for years. And that's a problem for me. That makes me realize, okay, well, maybe I'm not talking about who I am and what I believe to be the big picture, what this is all about enough. So yes, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I think I'm gonna put that time and that energy into an actual full-fledged documentary. Been talking about this with my friends, as I said. So I hope that answers the question. Okay, let me get back to Patreon real quick. Or, sorry, Steemit. Let me refresh this page and see if we have any new comments coming in or questions from Steemians. What do you think of Pizzagate? Just came in 5 minutes ago from Titus Frost. Thanks for the question, man. Sorry I missed you last week. I'm guessing that's what you asked last week, so glad you got to it this time. All right. Pizzagate, guys, is something I started covering when it happened. It was in the early 2016, and then, well, quickly to break it down for those of you who are not familiar with this, I mean, it's delved into vast conspiracy theories by design for good reason to cover up the real aspects to Pizzagate. So yes, I've been researching this. I've investigated it. In fact, I did an expose on it, exposing a Hillary Clinton staffer, someone who is directly connected to Hillary Clinton, who was deeply involved in the pizza sex symbolism, and I got a privacy strike on that video and had to have it removed from YouTube. It got around 20,000 views in a day, I think, and then had to be pulled. Otherwise, I was going to be getting a violation. And that video does still exist online. The Vigilant Christian on YouTube re-uploaded it, and I'll have to ask him what video that he played that. But my entire video is still out there, so it can be seen. But there's a big problem that I have, Titus, with the Pizzagate thing, and let me just quickly break it down for you. Basically, according to my research, okay, and I've been looking into this very deeply, and I'm not going to report on something until I have the proper kind of facts to be able to say, without a doubt, you know, that this is what it is. Now, my problem is that a lot of the stuff can be substantiated. Certainly, the pedophilia symbolism can be tracked back to declassified FBI documents. Great. That is something that is sourceable, that I can point to. The problem that I have is when I try to find the source for the connection to the words. So, cheese pizza means girl, sauce means orgy, hot dog means boy, all those sorts of things, right? And that, everything relies on that. There's no source for that whatsoever. There's no declassified FBI document. There's no book that was written back in the 80s or 90s. There's no 4chan thread. Every single avenue that I've researched has come to a complete dead end, and everything hinges on that, my friend. So until I can have a solid sourced evidence that proves that those words are what connects to those acts, then I don't know what to make of it. Who knows where it's all coming from? And I've been trying to substantiate that. If you can correct me, if you can prove me wrong, if you have this information, if you say, Dan, this has already been proven, we have the facts. Here's how we know that, that here's where we got the idea. Here's who exposed that hot dog means boy and cheese means girl and sauce means orgy, whatever it is. Please send that my way, because that is the biggest piece of the puzzle that's missing for me. Hence why I haven't, made a ton of Pizzagate videos, although I've been exposing what goes on in pedophilia, the massive busts going on. I've done a lot of videos on that, but sure, the word Pizzagate has not made it into my titles in well over a year, because I'm having a problem substantiating those facts. Again, if you have a source for that, please find them for me. Doughboy77 says, you are wrong. Go on the dark net. Don't be a wimp. The sources are all over. pedo forms. Okay, again, go ahead and send me the information if you have the proof that you can source. You know, that's like can be held up in a court of law kind of evidence. Then pass it my way, and I'll take it and I'll take a look at it, because there's obviously something to this. These guys are sick. Of course, you know, Clinton and Podesta and even Hillary and all these guys being accused of these things are into shady dealings. I mean, Clinton going on the Epstein's plane, I can't remember how many times, 10 or 14 times or something like that, documented. The likelihood that these people are pedophiles is almost through the roof. I mean, it's almost 100%. But again, please send me this information if you have it. Okay, a lot of comments have been flying through, so I'm going to try to scroll back and see what else we can get. Dan, did you? Steve McCall asked, did you vote for Trump? I am actually Canadian, if you didn't know. So no, I did not vote for Trump. In fact, I have never voted ever before in my life. I did a video series called the Democracy Deception, and in it I exposed who was running at the time. You know, Trudeau, you know, the Liberals, the Greens, the Conservatives, the NDP, and exposed all of them because I don't believe in voting. I mean, I think this thing at this stage in the game, it's a controlled left-right paradigm. I mean, let's just face it. You cannot get to a position of being someone like President of the United States or Prime Minister of Canada unless you've gone through the respective secret societies, or you've been indoctrinated into this, or you've been handpicked and chosen, selected on purpose. It's a selection, not an election. That's the only way it's gonna happen, really. So no, I did not vote for Trump. First of all, because I'm Canadian. Second of all, because I don't vote. Doug Walters, the Christian religion is being attacked. To find out who seeks to control you, simply find out who you are not allowed to criticize. Quote from Voltaire. Yes, absolutely. Look at the persecution of Christians happening in the Middle East, all over the world. Actually, people don't know there's a Christian genocide going on. The Rebel Media, Faith Goldie of the Rebel Media, has been covering that specifically. She seems to be doing a lot of videos on that topic. I haven't watched any of them. I'm just, mental note here, I've noticed she's been covering this a great deal. But it's a great thing to cover because I know for a fact this is indeed going on. I talked about it a little bit in a video I did, an interview about refugees in Canada and the real deal with that. Again, if you look that up on my YouTube channel, you should be able to find it there. Did you vote for Harper in the last election? Well, I think my answer to the last one answers that one. Okay, I better go back to the Steemit.com. Let me refresh that because I only got into Titus's question. I hope that answers your question, Titus. You posted a lot of memes here about Pizzagate and a video. I'll check it out as soon as I get a chance after this video. All right, mostly comments here on Steemit. Okay, no more questions coming in from the Steemit, so I'll head back to the chat and let me try to scroll back through real quick and we'll see if we got anything going on. Otherwise, we may just end this broadcast soon. I never really did put a specific time limit or anything on this when I started out and when I set to do this. I just decided I'm going to start going live every week. We're going to be taking questions from patron members, Steemit members, and then anybody who I can get to on the YouTube chat. I just picked Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern, Friday. Is this good for you? If you're watching this in the rebroadcast because you were working or whatever, let me know in the comments. or if you're watching right now, let me know if this is a good time, do you think, to set it up on a regular schedule every single week, to just recap some of the videos that we did throughout the week, and take any questions that you guys have. All right, yeah, we're pushing the 50-minute mark, so I think maybe we should get ready to call it. Although I did this last week, I'll do it again. Why not? Okay, so it is right now 3:50 Pacific Standard Time. And I'm going to say, if I get 2 new patron members in the next 5 minutes, then we will stay live on for another 20 minutes. So if by 3:50 I get 2 new patrons to sign up at patreon.com/pressfortruth, we will stay on for 20 more minutes rambling about the news of the week or taking your questions. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and end the broadcast in about 5 minutes. Okay, just like that, we have 1 patron, although, no, that popped up 10 minutes ago. So that just, that one doesn't count. But starting from right now, if you hear that bling, and I get 1 more patron, 2 more patrons signing up in the next 5 minutes, we're going to stay on for 20 more minutes. And then maybe at the end of that 20 minutes, I'll do it again. If I get 2 more, I'll stay on for 20 more. If I get 2 more, I'll stay on for 20 more. And then maybe I'll be out here until the evening. We'll see what happens. But yes, if you want to be guaranteed to get your questions in next week when I go again, go ahead, become a PFT patron and get your questions in on my patron-only members thread. And then, as I said, we'll be reading them out every single week and answering all the questions. Okay, we got about 4 more minutes to go. So I'm going to see if we have any more questions. If you don't vote, you don't have a say, says JC. I disagree. I mean, I think, that comment kind of reminds me of the people who say, if you didn't vote, then you can't complain, because you didn't participate. I see it as the complete opposite. If you did vote, then you can't complain. I mean, it's because of you that this person who is in there. So it's just, if you voted, you can't complain about nothing. It's because of you guys that someone like that is in there. No, you do have a say if you don't vote. In fact, I think everyone's say should be a no vote. How awesome would it be if everyone showed up to the polls and checked none of the above? I think that would send a huge message to the puppet string pullers, these global elitists who are leading us down the path to serfdom, that guess what? People are waking up. They're starting to realize that the false left-right paradigm, this pyramidal system of control, is set up by them to manipulate us and control us. But we now know that the power lies in the base of the pyramid. And that if enough of us just say, no, we're not going to deal with this anymore. And let's say a couple of million people, maybe 50 million, maybe 100 million represents a lower brick in that pyramid. And they just say, no, I'm not going to vote. I'm not going to keep my money in your bank. I'm not going to put my kid in your indoctrination education system. I'm not going to, do the forced vaccines. I'm not going to have anything to do with your system. Global non-compliance is what I'm calling for here. Then just picture what happens when you remove that. It starts the beginning of a crumble. It starts the beginning of a crash of the system. So the more you vote, JC, the more you play into their scam of making you think that you have a say. You don't have a say. You don't have a say whatsoever. Do you think because you voted for Trump or against Trump, if you're American, that you have a say in what's happening in America right now? I don't think you actually think that. But it's just kind of a knee-jerk reaction for people when they hear that I don't vote to say, what? Well, you have no say then. No, man, you have no say either way. So stop playing into their system by giving them your vote. Francis believes that voting is important. Legend TV says voting is completely pointless. Again, please check out my Democracy Deception series, and especially my wrap-up of the series, where I just talk about democracy in general and all the problems that I see with voting and democracy. Look it up on my YouTube channel, The Democracy Deception, I think it's called. But you just type in the word democracy in the YouTube search feature, and you'll certainly find it. Legend TV says, if you are ever in Calgary, would you be interested in an interview? Sure, yeah, I'm definitely interested in that. If I'm ever out your way, we can do that. If you ever see that I'm in Calgary on my social media, or I'm posting videos from there, hit me up at dan@pressfortruth.ca, and then yeah, we'll do it, no problem. Okay, guys, we have 2 more minutes. I'm going to refresh this real quick. If we get 2 more patrons in the next 2 minutes, then I'll be staying on for at least 20 more minutes. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and end today's live broadcast. I haven't been checking to see if any super chats came in. Let me check. No, sadly, no super chats coming in today. If you don't know, super chat is a way to contribute financially to Press for Truth here through the chat, and then just like with Patreon members and Steemit members, I'll read your question and comment guaranteed when you send a super chat. Lee says, what should I title my video? Well, I have no idea, Lee. I suppose it all depends on what your video is all about. But you should probably title it Dan Dix is Freaking Awesome. Everyone should subscribe to his channel. Go with that. That'll probably get you a lot of views if that's what you're going for. So try that one. All right, guys, 1 more minute. Somebody asked, how do I feel about Flat Earth? RC Leroy Brown. I talked about that last week. I'm not into the Flat Earth theory. I believe it's a psyop, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I'm contemplating maybe doing a video debunking it, but I don't know if it's worth spending the time and effort into that. Quickly, somebody asks what percentage of your income makes Steam. I think what you mean is yeah, how much Steam dollars making up of my income right now. It's paying my bills, man. It's literally helping me survive and scrape by right now, because my YouTube ad revenues have dropped by about 80, maybe 90%, and that has made things kind of tight. And then all of a sudden things started picking up with Steemit.com for me, and I'm averaging sometimes around couple $100 a day on Steemit, which has been really good for me. So percentage-wise of my income, gosh, I don't know. It could be upwards of 15-20%, maybe more. I don't know. It's starting to really make a significant difference. Anyways, I've done videos on Steemit. If anybody's watching right now, they're not familiar with it, just use this search feature on YouTube, type in Steemit. I've done a few. It's a fantastic website. How often as a PFT reporter are you harassed or delayed by the government? All the time. Delayed, I mean, they're messing with me online all the time. My Facebook page is being shadow banned, for example. I have 350,000 likes on my Facebook page, and it's been that for a year and a half, like locked in at, I think, 356,000. I'm locked in at it. I don't get new likes. I don't get less likes. I used to have 390,000. It dropped down to 356. Locked in at that for a year and a half, despite the fact that I get hundreds of thousands of, views, thousands of shares sometimes, lots and lots of comments, people sharing, posting all the time, joining all the time. People tell me, yeah, I just joined, but it doesn't register. I'm being shadow banned. Not to mention in real life. I mean, when I try to cover events, they are starting to mess with me more and more, especially things like Bilderberg. I mean, you guys have seen the last couple of Bilderbergs. They know me by name now. They pick me out right away. In Germany, I was detained 8 times in a period of about 24 hours. I've told that story many times. You can check it out. Unreal, the treatment I'm starting to get. That's why we need more people. We need more people in this. Or maybe I should just go into disguise. Shave the beard off. You know, Luke, my friend Luke, Radowski said not too long ago, he was like, hey, how about this? If I help you double your YouTube subscribers in 6 months, will you shave your beard off? I was like, yeah, let's do it. But we didn't make it official. Should I do that? Should we make that official? Should we make this a little thing? Me and Luke suggested this. He said, Dan, I will promote your channel and I will try to make your subscriber count double in 6 months just to see you shave your beard. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'm game. But we didn't make it official. So I don't know. I definitely would like to double my subscribers in 6 months. But man, I don't know about losing the beard. I kind of like the beard. Okay, guys, we are past more than 5 minutes. And I have not gotten any new patron members, sadly. So I think we're going to have to go ahead and terminate this broadcast for today. Perhaps I will end it just like I did last week. I thought this was cheesy last week, but it wasn't. Because this guy is just the coolest, bestest little guy. And let me fix the camera. I'm going to sign out every time with my pal here, Kaiser. This is Kaiser Sose. He's a 2-year-old Havanese. He's my bestest buddy. And me and my lovely girlfriend, Molly, love him to death. Isn't he awesome? Look at him. Look at him. Just look at him. He's great. He's a little Havanese. Love him to death. There he is. Kaiser Sose. Check the links, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Again, if you are a patron member at patreon.com/pressfortruth and you want to get in your questions, you'll be guaranteed to have them answered on air. If you join up at Steemit, steemit.com/pressfortruth, be sure to follow me there. There I'm called @pressfortruth. And I'll start liking your posts and giving you Steam dollars, and we can pay each other in cryptocurrencies. It'll be fun. Yes, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, all the links. Be sure to share this broadcast once it's done, and check the links for how you can donate, and also how you can support our sponsors at Liberty Farms and Grassroots Medicinal and OneWorldDigitalSolutions.com. All right, guys. Kaiser's tired. He wants to go back to laying down on the couch. So we're going to call it a day. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week. Peace.